Okay. So, we are currently live. Could Joe Rogan it up, and we're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and now we're live. No? Okay. Well, either way, I am going to go ahead and grab the link for this and drop it in the Discord. And then if anybody wishes, they are welcome to join. Ask me anything. But it's kind of pointless to talk now, seeing, well, someone's currently here. Now. Okay. I am currently live now. Just waiting for someone to join the chat and ask any question they want. And as I've said, if I don't know the answer, I will definitely bullshit one for you. So, ask away. And it doesn't have to be about DU. You can ask about anything. You can ask how I got this marvelous beard. Well, anyone who wants to know that question, it's quite simple. I don't shave. Yes, it is that simple. And if those of you want to know how I get these marvelous locks of hair, well, it's a simple answer too. I don't cut my hair. Yep, you heard it here. That is the secret to getting long hair. Don't cut your hair. And if anyone was wondering why my previous videos were super choppy, well, it has been a long time since I've actually streamed. I was using that, GeForce overlay streaming crap, and that's why it looks really choppy. I have finally reinstalled OBS and am now actually setting up my stream properly. Who knows? Maybe I'll start doing some nice design stuff and putting a border around my video or around my camera feed or Something, I don't know. Maybe if it gets viewers, I'll start streaming in a bikini, just up the sex factor. You know, make it a little bit sexy. I mean, who wouldn't want to see me in a bikini, right? I mean, look at this. Ah. You know what? I have to say, hats off to the people at like the Black Rifle Company because they make some amazing coffee. This Panera stuff, for some reason, pretty much any coffee other than that now kind of tastes like crap to me. I'm not super excited about it, but it is coffee. Ah, yummy. And yes, I know this is probably very boring. Anyone who comes in later watching me, just waiting to see if anyone's interested in asking me any questions. For all I know, no one cares. Actually, that's probably the most likely case. But
You can chat. So I'm gonna move this over here. There we go. And you're gonna go to your OBS and you're gonna add a new source. And the source that you want is going to be a browser source right here, as you guys can see. You can click browser source and you can name it whatever you want. I already have one named chat, so I'll go chat, tutorial chat, and press OK. And then you do not want to make it a local file because it is not a local file. It's actually gonna be the link that you just copied right there. There it is. That is your chat, the link to your live chat right there. And I did not finish it. Hold on. Touch chat. I did not mean to press enter there. There we go. There's the chat. And then you can change the size to whatever you want, to be honest. I'd probably go with like 350 by 600 or so. FPS can be 30. And don't worry about CSS. We'll deal with that in a second. You don't want either of these checked. FPS doesn't really matter, obviously. Like it's a text thing. Let's see what 350 by 600 looks like. We want it a little wider. Let's go 500 by 600 maybe. Right there. And you can make it a little bigger. But the problem with this is that you have a little box around here. We don't want it to look like that because we don't want to see this top thing. We don't want to see this stuff. We can't get rid of that set night. We want it to look like that, or it's just the logos and the text. So what you're going to want to do is copy the text that I put in the description down here. And this is not my own code. I do not take any credit. not to get any credit for this. It was made by Shitson Zero Pride. I got this on a YouTube video kind of a long time ago, and I tried hard to find the video so I could give credit, but I couldn't find it. So this was the guy who made it right here. If anyone knows where the video is, definitely like hit me up with a link or something so I can give him credit. But this guy wrote this code here. All it does.
So, let's see. Yes, Atlantis. I do love this game. Absolutely. Endless possibilities. You can, like, pretty much I can get OCD about anything, but this game definitely gives me all the options to get OCD over all the things, which is awesome. So what's your favorite thing in the game? What do you enjoy doing the most? Oh, just flying? You're like pretty much doing any construct that allows you to fly, and like what's your favorite part about flying? Like you enjoy like changing up the maneuverability and messing with the settings, or you just enjoy flying completely? Like doesn't really matter. Just flying. So you looking forward to Planetary PvP, or are you more a pleasure flyer? You have a cool base, or I do? Well, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the planetary PvP aspect of it. I think flying skill is going to come into play a lot, especially in planetary PvP. You know, eventually, the way all these games go, battleships are going to take the forefront in space. But once you get into an atmosphere, and you know, all bets are off at that point. Oh yeah, I love PvP. And yes, I do have a cool base. Well, cool base is cool for me. My base is very functional. I have extensive production going on, so in that sense, it's cool for me. But it's not exactly special, if you get my meaning. But yeah, as far as the planetary PvP goes, I could see, you know, like getting 5 or 6 skilled flyers, you know, at least people who practice in atmosphere and design their ships around the atmosphere, just laying waste to large fleets of capital ships. I can't wait to see it happen. I can't wait to see what planetary PvP looks like. It's definitely going to be interesting. The main thing I can't wait to see is what voxel deformation is going to look like with weapons on planets. So, I mean, you're going to have it, otherwise, you know, people are just going to put a layer of dirt over their base and make it indestructible. So, you know, you're definitely going to have to be able to destroy voxels with weapons. And that should look really interesting. Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I can make large containers like crazy, but to be honest with you, I I'm kind of a little bit OCD about the stuff I make, so I'm literally making every single. I have a medium chest for almost every single um, a basic component in the game, as well as a dedicated manufacturer of that base component. So I've got like I don't know. I don't even know how many like metalworking stations and smelting stations, refineries, and electronic manufacturing, all that stuff. Just bunches of them, and all I do is just put in ore, and it starts filling up the containers. And basically, I've been collecting ore, trying to get it to where I literally fill up those containers 100% with every single component in the game. But I do make some large containers for sale every now and then. If you like atmospheric flying, though, you would probably enjoy the last ship that I made. It is designed to be a hauler, but that thing stops on a dime and like just shoots. It goes over 900 kilometers an hour in atmosphere. I might have overdone it with the 4 large atmospheric engines, but hey, I've never heard anyone say too much power is a bad thing. Definitely never heard that. Nice. Yeah, I've seen, a lot of spaceship builds have always had, the 3 engine style, where you have 3 engine pods, one on top and then 2 on the sides. I decided to go with like a 4 engine pod style and use the rear engine pod as also sort of like a rear landing leg. And it made it a little bit overpowered, but hey, you know, whenever you're hauling 2 or 3 large containers full of ore, a little bit too much power is a good thing. So what are you looking forward most on the roadmap, man? You want me to add you as that you're hostile? Or are you saying that you're hostile in the game, like that's your in-game name? Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Add me. I'll try to kill you. That's it seems like a odd friendship request, but I'm down. Hey, used to be a soldier, so I'm all for people trying to kill me. It's a way of life. But absolutely, I'll add you, man. And as you can tell, I am MortifiedBum. And yes, the 2560 gaming is reference to my old resolution with my old monitors, which did not last for very long. It was a unfortunate way to name my YouTube channel. I probably should have seen that coming. Oh yeah, same here, dude. I'm like on here every single day. Luckily, my job affords me the leisure of working at home from my computer. So, oh, nice. Well, hello, Hostel, and hello, Hostel's wife. Is her in-game name like Malice or something? Or does she go the opposite and it's just like ally? Pixie Dust. Nice. So it's completely unrelated to your husband's. I like it. So what about you, Pixie? What's your favorite part of this game? Oh, I'm right there with you. Birds of a feather. I'm definitely way more into the OCD aspects of it. See, I had a suggestion to the devs that when they actually add the sun in there as an object, that they need to have an achievement of flying into the sun called the Icarus Achievement. I don't know if they're going to actually do it, though. It would be awesome. Sorry, it reminded me of that because you said that you fly high. Although that could have been referenced in like a 420 reference, who knows? Yeah, leave that open-ended, right? So, y'all have any questions for me? Any aspects of the game or something that you haven't quite figured out or that you're a little hazy on? Not saying that I'm an expert, but if I don't know the answer, I will definitely bullshit you. Wow, northern Michigan. Hey, Patrick. Yeah, so basically, just to give you a little bit of history of what's going on right now, the servers were brought up after an extended database maintenance. That happened because there was a performance issue that's been happening over the last couple of days that they tried to fix, they tried to patch. Didn't seem to be working. In fact, the patch seemed to create a worse issue. And so they figured they'd bring everything down and try to figure out, just take a long hiatus and try to figure out exactly what's going on. That was the database maintenance. When they brought it back up, thinking that they had fixed it, well, the influx of players had brought out that they had not fixed it. And so they brought the game down again. We don't know. They don't even know when it's going to be back up. That's the short answer. So it could be in the next 30 minutes. It could be in the next hour. It could take a day. Who knows? It depends on how easy it is to find the issue. Yeah, whenever it comes down to it, they are right about one thing. Well, they're right about a few things, but they're right about this specific thing in that the code that they're using is a completely in-house built code. It's not something that someone had done before. They're not building on the backs of other game developers or, like making someone else's code theirs. This is all their code, which means that, sadly, there's all you can do is trust the people who built the code and who are managing the code to go in and find the problem with the code. The good thing is that this game has a lot of ability to be unique, but it also means that it's going to have a lot of growing pains getting to the point to where it's stable. But hey, that's why we're here in beta, right? Oh yeah, yeah, definitely did. Yep, I started a couple months ago. I was not in the first alpha, I was in the second alpha phase, um, and then jumped into beta with everyone else. Nice. Yeah, I have to say the alpha phase definitely gave me a little bit of a leg up to be able to know exactly where to go right whenever I got in. Like I made the mistake of staying on Elioth during the alpha, and because of that, obviously a lot of tier 2 materials that I needed I couldn't get at. Hell, I don't think during alpha I even built a spacefaring ship. Everything was just haulers and stuff like that for. for Alioth. But the very first thing that I did whenever beta broke out was I got 750K together just by selling ore and bought the T1A Nomad, bought enough fuel, and blew myself out into space and went straight to Mattis. Mattis, obviously, being the best planet in the bubble, with the exception of Alioth. Obviously, Alioth has better ores, but if it's I didn't want all that lag from Alioth, so I just got the hell out, went to Mattis, and now I just use Mattis as my jump-off points to all the other planets. Currently, my ship can lift 2 cargo containers full of ore, and the ship itself weighs, I think, 315 tons, empty. So, I don't know, I think that would put me at about 500 tons full. What about you, man? So my ship's rather simple. The only like elements that are on the ship are the engines, which are large atmospheric engines, the air brakes, which are large air brakes. Then I have 8, and I'm about to upgrade them to 16 retro rocket um, brakes, and then right now it has 2 space engines, but I'm about to upgrade it to 4 large space engines, and then obviously the hover cockpit and the hovercraft piloting seat, and then a navigation chair for passengers. And then it's all large cargo containers, and also I put in a gyroscope because I like seeing the HUD whenever I'm on third-person view. So, yeah. It's rather simplistic, and everything's made out of aluminum. Um, and as far as lift, I'm doing 4 medium ailerons with a 5th one just to eliminate drag as I turn. That's facing straight up. The gyroscope actually it provides information on your angle as well as your roll whenever you're in the captain seat, but also whenever you go into third person mode, it provides that same information, but it includes all your fuel gauges as well as your speed and your altitude and all that stuff, even though you're in third person mode. So you don't have to be in first person mode to see all that information. Yep, exactly. And all you have to do is you place it on there, press F on it, and it'll automatically align itself with the core. So that way it knows exactly which way you're facing and all that good stuff. And they're very cheap to buy on the market. I can't remember how much, but I think it was less than 20,000. Yeah, they're definitely nice to have. So, I mean, they're not going to increase the functionality of your ship, but it just makes it so much easier to pilot. And just for help, because I'm setting up this new software for my stream, how exactly is the mic audio? Is it a little bit too loud, a little bit, or what? Little static, huh? Well, that's probably because I'm booming my voice just a little bit, but we can fix that. Get this down in the green. There we go. That's a little bit lower and a little bit probably less staticky. That's worse static? Wow. Okay, let's lower that decibel count by a lot. That should be less static. I couldn't imagine that being more static. I guess if I wanted to, I could just talk a little bit higher so that way there's less bass in my voice. I, I, yeah, even trying to talk higher does not work out very well for me. Or I could simply talk normal, you know, like I'm not yelling at yelling across a crowded bar trying to make people hear me. I tend to do that whenever I'm wearing my headphones. I really need to get one of those headphones that have the audio feedback from the outside, so that way you don't think that you can't hear anything. So, Atlantis, what do you use as landing? Oh no, I can't make warp drives yet. I mean, I'm only at the point where I'm refining tier 2 material and starting to build out all the resources for tier 2. I'd need to get up to tier 4 before that happens. And right now, not quite there. So what are you using on your ships for landing? Are you using like hover engines or? Hmm. I was gonna say you might want to ditch the hover engines, because one thing that I've discovered is the vertical boost engines have literally like way I don't remember the actual thrust numbers, but way more thrust than the hover engines do. And when you're at low altitude, they function exactly the same as hover engines. So at that point, you can literally, like for my ship, 3 large vertical boosts provide enough lift to keep me airborne, and they provide enough lift to slow my descent. Like I could be going 200 kilometers an hour or above and still be able to provide enough lift to slow me down, to where I don't smack into the ground. As a matter of fact, they stop me from smacking into the ground at all, just by pressing spacebar as I go in. So they tend to be way stronger and way better than hover engines, and they still automatically engage and keep you floating off the ground. So in my mind, I don't see a benefit whatsoever to hover engines. And they boost you way higher up off the ground than hover engines do, so they're great for takeoffs. So, and they use space fuel, and they use space fuel way more efficiently than hover engines use atmospheric fuel. So, like, I ditched all my hover engines. I used to have them, but I didn't see a point. Yeah, on my first iteration of my hauler, that one I had 4 medium hover engines and 2 large hover engines, and that was just so I could fly with 2 full medium containers. I swapped them out to 2 vertical thrusts, and like I couldn't overweight those vertical thrusts, the large large vertical boosters. So whenever I made hauler version 2, I just went with 3 large vertical boosters, and I don't see myself ever weighing that thing down, given the number of containers I can hold in that ship. If the ship was bigger, then yeah, eventually I could, but I just have to add more, so. She's probably right, just so you know. Most of the time, wives are right. Well, I appreciate that, but I don't think that you would want to fly to Mattis to deliver it. But actually, I'm not sure what the use is for the luminescent white glass. Is it just for creating like a window effects or what? Oh, lights. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say no to trying it out, man. Especially considering, I don't know if you've seen any of the other videos and seen the storage area for my base, but I did find out that there was a distinct disadvantage to using black galvanized aluminum to build the frame and walls of your entire base, especially the underground section. Basically, it's kind of hard to differentiate anything as long as there isn't an object to give you any type of scale. And that's one thing I don't get about this game is why just simple like vertical lights, like there's enough that you can do with tier 1 ore to build refineries and assembly lines and all type of high-tech equipment, but I can't build a freaking light unless I have tier 2 and tier 3 or tier 2 materials. Some of them take tier 3 materials. It's like, really? It seems like a basic light would be, you know, like one of the easiest things to make. Need a little bit of silicone, need a little bit of carbon, and you can manufacture a basic light. Maybe even a little, you know, aluminum or something. It could, hey, for all I know, it could be a performance thing. You know, maybe the lights and the casting of shadows and all that good stuff. Well, not the casting of shadows. That should be all server side or client side performance issues. But you know, maybe server side is just having to track the light sources. Maybe it creates a lot of server load, so they made it all tier 2 and tier 3 stuff, so that way, you know, people wouldn't just be pumping out massive numbers of lights and putting them everywhere. You know, no one made a freaking vertical hanging light chandelier or something. Who knows? But it does seem weird that those aren't built with T1. At least there isn't a lighting option that is T1 resources only. So have either of y'all gotten into any of the Lua scripting stuff? Hmm. Yeah, Lua scripting is a little bit interesting to get into, but you can do some interesting things with it. As obviously right now it's all on the creator side because there's not too many codes out there from people already just to do standard functions, but you know, eventually that'll come through where there'll be some repository somewhere that is just, you know, if you want to do X, here's the Lua script from this creator, so on and so forth. So then it becomes just a copy and paste type thing. But as far as on the creator's side, it's not that difficult to get into. It's basically, if you have any type of coding knowledge whatsoever, you can get into Lua and figure things out. The only problem I have with it right now is there is no way in the Lua scripts to actually change recipes on factories or on any industrial building. What would be nice is if I could, for instance, have one refinery or two refineries for tier 1 ore, and then it say, you know, keep doing this tier 1 ore until it jams, then whenever it jams, swap to this recipe, then when that jams, swap to this, and repeat, and then when you reach the end, repeat as well, and that way, you know, those two would cycle through all the tier 1 ores, but sadly, right now in the Lua scripting, there is no way to swap a recipe. But if they ever add that, that's going to be huge. Yeah. Whenever you're flying and you don't want to slow down, like for instance, whenever I flew to Jago, you know, because it's a PvP space, just getting close to the planet. Okay, maybe we're talking about different Alt F4s. I was talking about the Alt F4 trick where if you hit Alt F4 or you click Logout, it automatically stops all movement on your ship. Even if you're going 30,000 kilometers an hour, you just immediately stop in place. Is that what you're referring to? Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I haven't found much use for it except on my trip to Jago, and I guess the logout method was still working then. I ain't gonna lie and say that it's never happened to me, but the only time it's ever happened that it was incredibly like detrimental was whenever I tried flying over to Alioth and I ended up getting disconnected, but I got disconnected like I don't know, like 800 meters from the surface, or it was like right out of fetch range, so I couldn't just jump out of the ship and then try to fetch it to the surface. And as soon as I jumped in my pilot seat, there wasn't enough time to actually slow down the ship or to stop the ship from crashing into the surface. So somehow I was at like this perfect distance to where I hit, and then it killed me. And then, of course, my respawn wasn't on my ship, it was still on Sanctuary. Yeah. That sucked, because I was 25 kilometers away from the shuttle in Sanctuary to go to Alioth, and then I crashed like 65 kilometers away from any base to spawn to, or any market to spawn to, so that was a very, very long run. Ooh, yeah. Disconnects are the worst about that, because they always leave you in a compromising position. You know, if it's in space, you're fine. You know, you're going to be able to, even if you're getting sucked into a planet, you're going to be able to slow down below, you know, 1,000 kilometers an hour so you don't blow up in the atmosphere or anything like that. But whenever you disconnect in the atmosphere,
then it's very, very difficult to make it to where you don't end up crashing. Unless, of course, you build your ship with the ability to counteract, 1G of gravity or more easily. Yeah, the only problem with the pod, though, is that, like, I crashed so hard, it destroyed everything on my ship, including the static or the dynamic core unit. So, like, it would have even destroyed the respawn pod or the resurrection pod. But yeah, that's my next step, is to buy another resurrection pod and put that on my ship. Really, even with the pod blown up, it still spawned you where the pod was? That's interesting. That's real interesting. I did not know that. Huh. Yeah, I definitely need to do that then. That is true. Definitely flying high. I have, I think that one time that happened on Alioth was the only time that I have died in a crash. I've blown up parts numerous times coming in hard, but I've never actually died in the crash. But that one was particularly nasty because eventually I got Nova Quark staff, an NQ staff guy, to teleport me and my crashed ship. And I thought he was going to just teleport me to right where, we were. Nah, he sent me over to Sanctuary. And believe it or not, it is way harder to get off Sanctuary than it is to get off Alioth under atmospheric thrust. And my hauler was completely incapable of doing it, even fully unloaded. In fact, I disassembled the hauler drastically. Like, it became the frame of my hauler, got rid of so much stuff on it, even destroyed the engines themselves, or the like the hover engines themselves, and took off with just atmospheric thrust and my space engines. Still could not get out of the atmosphere with it. I think the max I got up to was like 4250 meters, and could not get high enough for the space engines to kick off. Honestly, I never really used it that much in alpha. And then in beta, I think I did a fetch once, and I don't even remember why I did it. But, I really haven't used the fetch feature all that much. For the most part, I just come in and hit my soft landings. I mean, that's in large part to using the vertical boosters instead of the hover engines. No, well, the fetch does work. They just decrease the range on it drastically. So it's not like you could do before, where you just build a big cavern underground and you could fetch your ship underground. And that way you can still use the container links to mine, and then you would go back up to the surface and fetch it back up again. Can't really do that anymore, just because you have to be within, I think it's is it 400 meters of the ship, something like that. So you can't really go all that far. You'd have to do it in multiple steps. 10 meters away, I think, might be a little bit too close. Last I checked, the fetch feature was still working. It was just drastically reduced range. I think they're trying to wean people off of it. Granted, I think the game needs to be a little bit more stable before they start doing that. If you still got ships that are falling through planets, then you really can't get rid of the fetch feature yet. But basically what they're trying to do is get the game stable enough to where the actual staff can handle the load of, teleporting people's ships to them, in the rare occurrence that it happens or is needed to happen, and then, eventually once they'll get to the point where they just eliminate it completely. But I think they're jumping the gun a little bit too soon with eliminating the range on it, because the game's too unstable, and I watch the help channel continuously, and I would have to say there's so many people who end up asking for a teleport. Granted, plenty of those people are abusing the staff, and they end up screwing up and then asking for a teleport to fix their own screw up, rather than the game screwing up and they needing a teleport. But at the same time, even if 5% or 10% of those requests are actual server glitches, it's still way too many for the NQ staff to have to handle efficiently. What's going on, Frying Cactus? And yes, I had to double check to make sure I read that right, because I said it and then I was like, that didn't sound right. But it is. And what's so lots of laughs, huh? What do you find humorous? Other than my looks, obviously. Hello. Excuse me. Well, right now, there are no bots in the game for making money off of anything but Tier 1, I don't believe. Alioth, I think, might be a little bit different. I think you might still be able to sell Tier 2. But just straight up selling ores is not a good thing to count on at the moment, except through sell orders. So your best bet is Tier 3 and Tier 4 ores, and then transporting them to planets that don't have them, and creating sell orders for them on that planet. I mean, you can easily get, obviously it has to be a planet that actually needs the ores, and it has to be a planet that has a decent population. But like, for instance, if you snatched up, limestone or whatever, and transported it to Mattis, there's people, like me, who are going to want to buy that stuff, and you could easily sell that stuff for, 100 pop. It's just going to take a little bit more effort on your part. But as far as selling to local market, you're not going to make really any money. You would have to mine so much Tier 1 ore, and honestly, like, for me, it would take me probably hour and a half, 2 hours to fill up my large cargo containers, and just that amount trying to sell to local, it's only going to net me like maybe 500-600K. So that's not a whole lot of money. No, that's fine. But I will say that that is definitely a good method to make money, is just going out, well, like for instance your planet, like me, what I do is I sort of cut out the middleman. Because I'm on Mattis, the main reason for having sodium is to manufacture space fuel. So I manufacture massive amounts of space fuel, and the first thing I do is I take a bunch of space fuel to each market on Mattis and sell that. But then I will also, anytime I travel with my hauler, I take a bunch of space fuel with me, and obviously use it in space, but then I'll also sell that off to other planets which don't have sodium. But the problem with space fuel is you can make space fuel out of multiple different things, so you know, you don't specifically need sodium, but sodium is extremely easy to make space fuel out of. Yes, Mattis is in the safe zone. That's one reason why I picked it. Is because it's in the space zone or in the safe zone, and it's not Thades. You know, it's not the great thing for ores because it has natron and garnanite, so nickel and sodium, so which aren't the best, but it does have moons that give you a bunch of different other ores. So, and whenever it comes down to it, you know, I can always fly to Jago. You know, as of right now, it takes me a couple hours to get there, but once I get there, I can mine a massive amount of chromite and limestone and stuff, bring it back, and I'll be set on that for a little while. Yes, actually, I think there is one of the moons that do have gold. Obviously, you'll have to bring a TCU with you and a static, excuse me, a static node in order to, or a static core unit, and drop a scanner on it to figure out exactly what's there. But yes, I think there is one of the moons that do have gold. Territory scanner? Yes. Yes, I do currently have a territory scanner. The only thing I don't have is the capability to mass produce TCUs, and because of that, you know, I don't really use it for mining. But eventually I'll get to that point where I'll just claim a whole bunch of different sectors and then drop the TC or drop the scanner on all of them, and you know, figure out exactly what's there. And whenever I go after something, I can prioritize one area or one territory over another. And then whenever I'm done, just destroy all the territory scanners. But I am not quite to that point yet. I'm currently running solo, so I'm not part of any organization, so everything I do on my own. Although I can't say that anymore. I did just bring my buddy in. Yeah, I'm sitting at like 2 or 3 million in the account right now because I just bought the territory scanner for like 5 million. So I will probably end up blowing the last of my money on buying a few TCUs just so I can have them saved up. But what I would like to really do is get to the point to where I can just mass produce them. I'm getting there. I'm starting on all the tier 2 components right now. But like just for a territory scanner, I mean, the massive amount of tier 2 resources is insane. Yeah, they're not the easiest thing. But one thing that isn't easy is the dynamic core units, the medium ones. Those things require tier 3 resources, and a massive amount of them too. Like you went from the small one, which only required, the extra small, which you can craft from your inventory, and it requires very little. Then the small one, which required some tier 2 resources, but not much, to the medium one, which requires tier 2, tier 3, and just like a ridiculous amount of them. And don't even get me started on the large one. That's ridiculous. But my biggest thing with the roadmap is I am looking forward to mining elements. So that way, I could make a straight up mining ship and then start transferring stuff to use that mining ship to mine ore and then transfer it to a hauler. But I think what they're going to start doing is basically do like Empyrean did with its mining or its automated mining buildings. But we'll see. Yeah, it does, but at like initially it cost a lot. It cost a lot of time and everything, but now like I've literally got parts for 100 if I wanted to, 100 freaking large containers. So the only time that it takes me to build them is the time it take, or is the 98 minutes per, and I can craft up to 3 at a time. So I can go to bed and wake up to 15 large containers easily. I don't think it's going to ruin income. I think what it's going to do is make it to where people actually, because like right now, whenever you go out to mine, what do? I have 4 areas that I'm bookmarked that's away from the market that I mine in. And I go out there, I dig a whole bunch of holes and just rip everything out of the territory. But I skip a lot. Like I hit a point where I had way too much aluminum. So I just took aluminum off there and I skipped it. So I've got mining areas out there that are depleted of almost everything except for aluminum. And then it got to the point to where, actually I needed aluminum more than I needed everything else. But did I go back and mine out all that aluminum? No, I didn't. So I think the mining stuff, it will actually make it to where people focus on single territories a lot more. Because then you're really concerned about yield. And whenever it comes down to it, if you're mining for tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 2 resources, yield is pretty freaking high in almost every territory. They don't say. It's just part of the roadmap. I don't believe even on the website it gives an idea of where it is prioritized. I think, let's see, dual universe. Let's go check out the website. I don't think even the website gives an idea of where. See, I'm not sure, man. Like, even checking the website, I don't see anywhere where it shows an actual roadmap link. That's interesting. Let's see, roadmap. Nope, no articles for the roadmap. Let's check the forums. Yeah, I don't really see anything about the roadmap on the site. Yes, Marcus. Currently the servers are down. They are doing an extended maintenance due to a patch that broke server performance. So it is down and there is currently no ETA on when it will be up. Atlantis, I am currently running a 2080 Ti. No problem, Marcus. Dionysus, I would say it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to join an organization, so that way you have a very specific role that you can join that organization doing, the learning curve is very, very low. Um, if you are trying to run as solo and do all the things in the game, which you'll need to do, because obviously if you want to build ships and stuff like that, you'll need to do all the industrial stuff in order to get the parts to build those ships, then the learning curve gets pretty high, just because you have to learn every aspect of the game. But you know, at that point, it's dealer's choice. You can pretty much find an organization that'll let you do everything. Obviously, at this point, you know, if you join a large organization, you know, they might require that you start out with, you know, mining for them as sort of a little mining slave. But, you know, once you've done that, they typically have ways for you to earn your ship that don't require you to get really in depth into the different aspect of the games. Or of the game. Atlantis, I think they stated that they are currently, like, everyone working on this game, so they are in full oh shit mode. Was my mic choppy, like, just right then, or has it been choppy the whole time? I don't know. I guess that's a question for everyone else. Obviously, the mic doesn't sound very choppy to me. It's always possible. But I do try to attribute most problems to my own stupidity, so it's generally the right answer. There's probably a button somewhere in my software that says, make my mic choppy, and I accidentally clicked it, thinking it would be a good idea. Okay, well, apparently it is not just you. I'm going to raise my gain on my mic, and maybe it has something to do with it cutting in and out due to, like, a voice activation thing. So, did that make it better? That is very true. That is very true.
Sadly, the only way for me to unplug is right here. Ah, well, I figured out what it was. I had my video set to capture also the sound and changed it to my microphone. And yeah, that was apparently the wrong choice, having it capture two audio signals at the same exact time. Woohoo! Actually, Willie, yes, I do. So, one of the major issues you're going to find with playing as sort of an industrialist is the number of connections on your container. What that means is that each container can have up to 10 connections, input, output. And because of that, let's say I was to pump all my parts into one container. Well, you're going to have an input from every single thing that's doing its part, and then you have your outputs. So at that point, you really can't connect all that much to that container because you're using up a massive number of connections already. So what I like to do is, as far as my goals, is get to the point to where at base production, I have one input into every container. And every container contains a different part. So right now, if you were to look at my base, I have about, I don't know, 25 or so medium containers, and I'm literally using them just to make all the base parts. And then once I have all that set up, then I'll start moving on to tier 2, then tier 3, and so on and so forth. So I progress all the way down the line. So that way, at some point, all I do is let's say I have 5 large assembly lines, then I connect whatever specific part I need for whatever I'm going to produce up to that assembly line. And now I'm not wasting connections. And so once you get to that point, you're really set up for mass production of things. And that's actually going to be the key to making money, because you can reduce the crafting time of things only up to a certain amount. But you can always increase the number of crafters of that specific thing, meaning that you're decreasing the overall production time of a single unit. Okay, Atlantis. Lowering the mic a little bit. There you go. We have reduced the gain on there. Dionysus, you want to join the org? Well, I will say that I am definitely solo, but if you were wanting to join an organization, you are welcome to join mine, and I will help you out with, getting you started on whatever it is that you're trying to do. So the answer to that would be yes. Thank you, Atlantis. And I thank all of y'all to helping me figure out exactly what's going wrong with my microphone. Like I said, I just started using OBS again because it's been a long time since I've streamed. So, very much appreciated. Thank you. So what about anyone else? Does anyone else have any questions about the game? Anything that they would like answered that they, or just minor curiosities, or, well, hell, you could ask me anything. Doesn't even have to be about the game. That sounds about right, Atlantis. I haven't really tested it, but yes. Dionysus, absolutely. We do have a Discord that you can join into. Obviously, because I'm streaming right now, I am not responding in that channel, but if you would like to join our Discord, I can absolutely send you a link in chat for that. So there you go. If you want to join the Discord, link is in the chat.
Yeah, eventually I'll get back to where I was with the streaming. You know, like maybe I'll have a nice little border and stuff around my game, or at least the chat window and the camera window. Make everything look nice and neat. But as of right now, I'm just sort of getting back in the feel for it. Willie Stett, no, there is no current automated mining. It is on the roadmap. I'm not sure entirely where on the roadmap. It is definitely in the coming soon section, but you know, soon's just a matter of perspective. You know, if this game took Star Citizen time to develop, well, then soon could be, 5 or 6 years from now. But it is in the coming soon section. As of right now, the best method for mining is actually the only method for mining. It's doing it by hand. So it's all about getting skilled about using the scanner. At this point, I've mined so much that I've broken it down to the point that I basically run straight into my ores without needing the directional scanner much. But it's basically getting good with the scanner. And I do that just by simply, I don't try to head straight towards ores. I just walk in a direction and always. So one trick that some people don't realize is if you have your mining tool out, or if you have anything out, and you press L, it turns on your headlamp. But it also turns a gauge on the side to show you the exact angle that you're facing with your mouse cursor. Which means if you use that with the mining tool, you can dig straight tunnels without going up or down. So I use that to my benefit by basically gridding off resources. So, I'll dig in a straight way towards a resource or in any direction. And then if a resource gets closer, well, I keep digging in that direction until the resource flattens out. Then I turn 45 degrees left or 45 degrees right and dig in that direction. And I do that, and typically it only takes that dig, and then I head straight out. Then when it flattens out again, I know the ore is either directly above me or directly below me. And so I just back up and dig down. If I'm not getting closer, then obviously I like to dig a spiral staircase up, and I'll hit the ore. It went from whenever I started, probably taking I would say a good 10 minutes to isolate and find an ore node that I was searching for. Now, from 300 meters to mining it takes me less than 5 minutes typically. I am not sure about that Atlantis. I would have to say yes, but anything can change. Also, Willie Stent, one thing that'll increase your mining efficiency the most is by building a big hauler. If you, as long as you have something that can carry 2 full medium containers through the atmosphere, you're going to increase your mining efficiency so much more. And then also focus on at least getting level 3 and the talent that increases your range for your link containers. That's crucial because if you go down to mine tier 2 resources, you don't want to have to run 500 meters up a tunnel just to relink with your storage and drop off all the resources. And it's no problem, Dionysus. Enjoy that COD. So Willie Stem, I would say anything other than Sanctuary. So I've run into ore nodes on Mattis, for instance, that were 30 freaking kiloliters big. I've run into some that were 80 kiloliters big. And then I've also run into some that are only about 6 or 7. But they tend to be much bigger on any planet other than Sanctuary. On Alioth, for instance, I've run into ore nodes, like for limestone, that were 9 kiloliters. And even with the scanning tool, or the territory scanner, like I've scanned random territories and found like over 900 kiloliters worth of like hematite, iron ore in one territory, which is a massive amount. So oh yes, Dionysus. I have taken trips all over the solar system for ore. My last trip was to Jago, actually. How long ago did you start, Dionysus? Oh, you asked if it's worth it to even get the game, right? So, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you haven't started anything. So did you play during alpha at all, or are you just interested in the game? And as you can see, Atlantis is very excited about this game. Yeah, honestly, it's a really good game. There is some grind to start out with, but efficiency goes up as you play. Like, for instance, whenever I was first building factories, I was building them from components in my nano pack, which took for freaking ever. Now, I've got every single component in the game being automatically made, so I can, whenever I want a new factory, I just start it up and it's done in 32 minutes. As opposed to having to make every single component and then make the factory itself. So yeah. Honestly, a lot of people disagree with me, Willie, but I would say my favorite planet so far is Mattis. If you wanted to take the long trek, the most profitable planet will be Jago, because Jago has the most important tier 2 ores in the game, which is chromite and limestone, which are required to make some pretty significant things in the game. Now, the problem with Jago is... Huh. Alexa said something. Okay. But one of the... there are 2 of the most important tier 2 resources in the game. The problem's going to be with Jago is that it is not inside the safe zone, which means anytime you go, I think it's like... Okay, let me do my math. So... 100 kilometers is half an SU. So 200 kilometers. So as soon as you go 2.5 kilometers away from the planet, you're in PvP mode. So that's the problem with Jago. So anytime you're leaving the solar system or coming back to it, you're in danger of getting whatever haul that you're trying to make destroyed or taken, or your ship taken by PvPers. But also with Jago, you can get pretty far in the game without ever leaving the planet. But basically, the way that I'm treating it is I'm going to build out my main factory for all my base components on Mattis, and that way it's 100% safe, never going to have an issue, and then build a secondary base on Jago. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to blueprint my existing factory and then drop it onto Jago once I replicate all the materials, because I think I can get pretty close to it with my containers. I may actually need to buy a container hub just so I can fit it all, because right now it's like 20 metalworking stations, 5 alloy or smelters, and 8 refineries, and all kinds of medium storage and stuff like that. So I may need a container hub to be able to blueprint it and have all the resources to build. But that's the plan. No, they're open beta right now, Dionysus. They've been open beta since August 27th. So literally anyone can join the beta right now. No problem, Willie. Well, that's the question, right? So we're talking about... So there are controls in place in most games to control how long something's in beta, because Steam got in trouble for it a while ago whenever they had all kinds of games that were sitting in beta for years. And they tried to say that it was early access for years. And the problem with that was, well, a lot of these things were money grabs. They weren't really working on the game all that much, but they were getting people to buy it, and then they would never release a full game. So Steam put a whole lot of controls in there to make it to where there was a limited amount of time you could call yourself early access, and so on and so forth. And then also, if you failed to bring out a real game, then you're opening yourself up to lawsuits from Steam, as well as refunds of the people that were actually buying the game if you didn't come out to a full release. Now, this is a proprietary launcher. It's not through Steam, not through any gaming provider that's out there, like Epic Gaming. So because of that, there's no way to know. It's a lot like Star Citizen in that sense. So there's no control over, like, no one has any control over how long the beta lasts. So at this point, it's more of a trust thing, that we're trusting the developers that they are going to release a full game, that they are going to continue working on this, that they're not going to just cash out because they decide, well, we got enough experience that a large gaming studio will hire us or buy out our company. So, yeah. Although I did say if I don't know, I will bullshit and answer. So, 8 years, 5 months, and 36 days. Willie, if you want to get rich, the key is to haul stuff to places that don't have them. So, for instance, if you're on a planet that does not have a canthite, well, go out, mine a canthite on a planet that does, bring it back, create sell orders for it on that planet, and there's going to be plenty of people who have money that need that resource that will pay top dollar for it. Also, when you're selling things like that, space them out between markets. Don't just drop, like 100K or 100 kiloliters of a canthite in one market and then walk away. Space it out. If there's 4 markets on there, 25 kiloliters on one, 25 on the other, so on and so forth. Yes, Dionysus. So right now, you get 100K credits for free every single day that you log in, and you have to log in. So if you leave it with the game running for a 24-hour period and you don't actually log out and log in, you won't get the 100K. So it's tied to you actually logging in. But you get 100K credits um, every single day. But other than that, any money you make is money that you made on the market from other players or from the tier 1 selling bots. So that's how most people start out, is selling tier 1 resources to the bots. It's slow money, but you can do it. And then everything else is manufacturing and selling things on the market. So, for instance, I sell, like large, extra large and medium containers on the market currently. The one thing I don't do is sell any of my industrial buildings, because, well, that's how I make money, is being the most industrialized person on the planet. So, selling industrial buildings just helps people catch up to me. But other than that, like, I'll sell large containers, medium containers, and I also sell fuel. So people who need emergency refills, like, I'll go in and I'll drop, 10, 20K or kiloliters worth of fuel at each of the markets. So that way when people come in, and then I just sell it, whenever. It's a slow source of income, but, it's a constant slow source of income. But as far as the markets go, everything is player made. So whenever they first launched beta, they had a bunch of bots that were selling a bunch of different stuff, even end game stuff. They realized their mistake with that, and they killed them almost, like, I think it was within like 3 days. So now pretty much anything that you want to buy is something another player has manufactured. Whenever it comes to actual elements. So, yes. My computer specs? Let's see. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to share with you my system specs. Boom. There you go. So right now I am running a X99A Godlike Gaming Carbon motherboard. Yes, it's an oldie, but a goodie. I'm running an i7 6800 CPU, as well as my graphics card, which is a 2080 Ti. All of this is liquid cooled. So, and then I'm also running a grand total of 68 gigs worth of RAM, or sorry, 64 gigs worth of RAM. So, Lucky Boy, are you asking for my system specs, or are you asking for the system specs required to run the game? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really have any issues running this game. Granted, whenever I build out this PC, I would say I put a grand total of about 2,500 into it. That was about 4 years ago. Obviously, since then, I've swapped out the graphics card. Originally, I was running a 1080, so I ended up swapping it out to a 2080. But other than that, it's all the base that I built 4 years ago. But it doesn't, still as yet, has had any trouble running any game whatsoever. Yeah, definitely a very beefy build. My next update is I'm probably going to swap out the CPU and the motherboard out to a brand new one, specifically one that has multiple M2 drives. So right now this one can only take a single M2, which I'm using as my base. It's or as my operating system, and literally any game that I want to run fast, which is pretty much every game. It's a 1 terabyte, but what I would prefer to do is have a much smaller M2, like a 258 gig or M2 for just my OS and everything, and then have a nice big beefy 1 terabyte that is running all my gaming and having them on a separate drive. Yeah, they are coming out with the new series of GPUs, which honestly I may start looking at. Granted, the 2080 Ti, man, I still have yet to find anything that I even challenges it. Like I have yet to run into a game that I can't push 60 plus FPS on. So the only games that I have a problem with FPS on is games that are heavily CPU reliant. So at that point, it's like, why not go to a nice server or a nicer server GPU or CPU, like a 4 core that's running at a much higher megahertz, and that way, because most of the time, if I'm playing a game, that's my issue. The game isn't properly multi-core to use the newer CPUs properly, and they're heavily reliant on single-thread operations. Nice, Dionysus. That is actually really nice. Yeah, like I said, a new GPU is definitely something that I'm considering, but at this point, I definitely need to start looking at upgrading my CPU and my motherboard. Because, like I said, anytime I've ever bottlenecked on a game, it's because it's been single-threaded high. It's been a single-threaded, like, highly GPU-reliant game. Oh yes, Atlantis. It is very CPU hungry. Granted, I still don't have an issue with it. The only time I have any performance issues, it's actually network lag related, which is game related, not client related. Sorry, game server related, not client related. Granted, that may change once they get the lighting worked out. But right now, lighting in the game is not done very well. Um, like for instance, with your headlamp, there are times when the headlamp doesn't even seem to render, and then there are times when it just makes the area seem like it's being bathed in the sun, and it's not even directional off of where your headlamp's supposed to be. So once they fix that, then we might start seeing a little bit more GPU resources being used, as well as maybe even some increased CPU usage. But I would say that lighting right now is one of their biggest things. Really? Hmm. Yeah, well, that's pretty high, especially seeing they don't have very much texture going on right now. I mean, flying at that speed over a planet, like you're really not seeing all that much. So 70% seems pretty high. See, I'm always leery of NVIDIA press releases because they'll say things like that, you know, it's going to be twice the performance of the last gen and blah, 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 blah. And then really what they meant was it had twice the memory, not twice the performance. It had like 25% more processing power, but, you know, twice the memory. It's, you know, freaking 12 gigs instead of 6 gigs of onboard memory. So I'll believe the double number whenever I see it. Yeah, and if you notice, the render range for even textures is not that high on this game. So, like, even flying on my speeder when I first started at about 280 kilometers an hour, you're still, like, I would get over entire forests before they actually even rendered in. So, Marcus, did you really lose it, or is it in your inventory? Because one of the patches that they implemented yesterday was that if your speeder is out and it matched certain criteria, like it was below a certain weight, didn't have weapons on it, basically, if it was the original speeder, and it has been idle for more than 3 hours, it automatically gets turned into a blueprint that includes all the materials. It's a special kind of blueprint, and it gets put in your player inventory. So if you've checked that, or are you saying you lost it, like you crashed it into something like really far away, respawned back at the market, and then feel like running 65 kilometers to go pick it up? You have a great day too, Atlantis. I appreciate you joining the stream. Ah, yes. I'm willing to bet this something was a tree that respawn or that spawned like right in your way as you're flying at 280 kilometers an hour, and it spawned like 5 meters in front of you. To be honest with you, well, thank you, Atlantis. I appreciate it. To be honest with you, though, as far as the speeders, I never even used mine. The only thing I did with it was I dropped it down for the tutorial mission, and then I went straight to trying to make money by harvesting materials and selling them. As soon as I got 720K, I had enough money for fuel and to buy the T1A Nomad ship, which is the cheapest ship that can break atmosphere and fly in space. And I used that to fly to Mattis. And I didn't even bother picking up the materials from the speeder. I straight up right-clicked it on the map and disowned it. I spent too much time with that speeder in alpha. It was I absolutely hated it. Yep. I will say that the best thing to do with that speeder, first thing, get ailerons and turn it into a flyer. Your life will be so much better. And the small ones or I think you need small ones with it. I know you could put the extra small, but I'm not sure if they have enough lift. But you could try it. But I know the small and the extra small are insanely cheap on the market. So you don't need to mine that or to pick up that many resources at Sanctuary to be able to afford it. And turning that thing into a flyer will make your life so much better. just remember to right-click on the seat and tell it to reconfigure the Lua to be a piloted ship rather than a hovercraft. Because if you don't do that, well, then the control schemes are going to be a little wonky. Yep. And eventually, you know, you can put an extra small container on there that'll increase the amount of yield you can get from making little mining trips. But to be honest with you, you know, on Sanctuary, what's the point in that? You know, but I would highly recommend just getting the hell off Sanctuary. It would be a good place just to build a base so you have somewhere to, you know, maybe store all the materials and a blueprint for an extra ship in case, you know, you lost yours or whatever. But as of right now, there is no planetary PvP, which means every planet is just as safe as Sanctuary. But in the future, when planetary PvP comes around, the only planets that are going to be safe is Sanctuary, Alioth. Well, Sanctuary is a moon technically, but it's one of the only moons that's set up as a planet. So Sanctuary, Alioth, Thades, and Mattis. So if you're on any of those planets, PvP should not be an issue even in space. But if you go off those planets, the planetary safeness, the 500 kilometers of planetary safeness from PvP, those should go away. Yeah, that would be nice. This game is definitely heavily CPU reliant. Um, Luckily, the multi-threading seems to be there. They've done that pretty well. I know a lot of games they say they're multi-threaded, but to be honest with you, they're not really. They are just capable of utilizing multiple CPU threads, but they use them for a single process. So, for instance, uh, take a game like an old game, like I don't know, like Age of Empires. So you would have one CPU thread that is specific to calculating the actions of all the units, rather than having multiple CPUs threads to do all of those different actions, so that way it can actually utilize. So for instance, let's say that's taking up very little of your processes, or that's taking very little of your CPU. So that one CPU thread is incredibly underutilized compared to all the other CPU threads that's handling, like, for instance, physics calculations or whatever. Um, this game seems to do really well at spacing out those calculations among the multiple CPUs rather than using a single CPU thread to handle a specific thing. Instead, all CPU threads seem to handle everything, which is a much better format to multi-threading than the former. Dionysus, yes. General chat, we generally use the BS channel. Okay, everyone. I do appreciate y'all all being here. I am not ending the stream, but I do need to go get myself a drink. I need to relieve myself, all kinds of things. So I'm going to take probably a 5-10 minute intermission, and then I will be back. So hopefully I will see y'all whenever I get back. Thanks, guys. Okay. Let's see how many people survived our little hiatus. Currently still 7 watching. That's pretty nice. Currently still 7 watching. That's pretty nice. Okay, one should not click on your own live stream just to see how many people are on there without pausing it very quickly. Although, let's see how long this takes to go off. So, only still 7 watching. That's pretty nice. That's 8. That's 8. That's 8. That's 8. That's 8. Okay, so the answer is 7 or 8, depending on how long I talk, on how long it gets rebroadcast over the stream. It's pretty interesting. So I'll try to avoid that later. As to y'all 7 watching, welcome back to my live stream. Currently, the Dual Universe servers are down for repair. We are doing a live Q&A where y'all can ask me anything y'all want to about anything that exists, and y'all can use this time for anything that you want. If y'all want to know more about different aspects of the game, different insights that I have found, different hints or tips or whatever. If y'all want to ask about relationships, y'all want to ask about the nature of the universe, whatever. It's y'all's gold mine. And as always, if I don't know the answer, I will be happy to bullshit one for you. So, take it away, guys. Oh, and if you're still here, Marcus Aurelius, I have raise a beer in your name. And thank you for all of y'all who have liked this video. And if y'all would like, I'd appreciate it if you would also click on the subscribe to see the next time that I go on live streaming. I promise I will not try to wreck your notifications by, posting a whole bunch of crap. So, yeah. And if y'all haven't liked this video, please feel free to do so. Also, you are welcome to dislike this as well. If you have found this very annoying and find my beard to be mildly dirty and offensive, then you can hit that dislike button too. So, Marcus, I know y'all are supposed to be asking the questions, but here's one for you. What is your go-to beer, man?
Atlantis. My in-game username is MortifiedBum. Voodoo Ranger, huh, Marcus? Honestly, I haven't really tried that. I'm assuming that's going to be like a lager or something like that. It sounds like a thick beer, you know? It's actually an Imperial IPA. Nice. That is obviously my favorite. Well, I say obviously. How would you know? My favorite type of beer is IPA. I have not tried a Voodoo Ranger though. My go-to cheap IPA beer is the Sweetwater 420. But there is actually a lot of local brewers where I live. I live in Tallahassee, Florida, so I like to drink a lot of Proof as well as a lot of Deep Brewing Company stuff. So, but when it comes to just a everyday drinking beer, Sweetwater 420 is my go-to. Still flying high, huh, Atlantis? Oh yeah, definitely good. Um, Whenever I go axe throwing, that is definitely my beer of choice is the 420. So what about everyone in the chat? Have y'all tried axe throwing before? Y'all ever gone anywhere? Oh, nice, Atlantis. The funny thing is, I've got all the space out in the world back there or in my backyard to throw axes, but I have yet to build a target. I kind of feel guilty for doing it because my buddy, actually my best friend, owns an axe throwing place right here in town. So I feel like if I build a target in my backyard, I would be like screwing him over. Oh, nice, Marcus. Any of y'all ever done any competition? Hell yeah, Atlantis. Now that's some fun. My what's your you say you shoot shotguns, do y'all just shoot for sport like skeet shooting or whatever, or do y'all do any hunting as well? Gotcha, Marcus. Yeah, it's actually fun, really, really fun once you get up into the competitive stuff. I actually went to the World Championship in Canada last year. Um, got knocked out first round. Apparently, I am the worst of the best in the world. But yeah, I did actually make it up to Canada last year after winning regionals down south. Oh, nice, very nice. You should try hunting with handguns. You know, get yourself a Thompson Contender. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say competitive axe throwing. It's kind of one of those things that
once you get into it, like you really get into it. I got to the point to where I was throwing, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours a day. Whenever I first started throwing and trying to compete competitively, I was throwing 3 or 4 hours every other day because my arm would kept getting sore and so I'd have to give it a day to rest. And then, you know, by the time that I actually hit regionals, I was throwing like 3 or 4 hours every day. And then by the time I competed in the the IATF championship, shoot, I mean, I had, my practice was grueling. Like I would be throwing, um, basically I would throw 5 bullseyes, pull out the big axe, throw 3 big axes, and then I would do that, and I would play at least, I don't know, 30 or 40 matches by myself in a sitting, and then I'd take a little break and then do it again. And I'm telling you, that was probably some of the most grueling training I've ever done. Well, okay, that's a lie. I was in the army. So, it is the most grueling training that I've done recently. Oh, very nice. Well, then you would like my guns, Atlantis. My concealed carry is just a Springfield XD, 9mm, but my fun handgun is a Desert Eagle 50, and my fun shotgun is my Benelli M4. But my favorite weapon is my Howa 1500. Um, that Yeah, I love that gun. I mean, I've been shooting 168 grain hollow point boat tail since I was in the military. So, oh, that is nice, man. I'm envious of you. I haven't been able to get out in the range in probably 6 or 8 months, man. Okay. So let's see. Double checking the Discord and seeing if there's any updates whatsoever. And currently there are no announcements going on for what's going on with the game right now. But we are in beta, so this kind of hiccup, honestly, I expected way sooner. So I think they were trying to hold off on actually taking down the game to fix something just because they did not want this to be an issue. They did not want this major outage to happen so close to, you know, release. But I think it was due. I think it was definitely due. Yeah, that's very true, Atlantis. That is very true. But, I mean, where are these guys? So, they opened a Montreal office. They also have a team in Paris. So, now the real question is, who actually celebrates Labor Day? Well, it's just the U.S. Oh, okay. So countries in Central America, South America, and some parts of the Caribbean. Yeah, so Canada has United States, Australia, and Canada all celebrate Labor Day, but it is celebrated at different times of the year. So, it's not a. Hey, it's what I do, man. I bring logic into the situation, logic and Googling skills. So, currently, they are not residing in any country which celebrates Labor Day at this time. Well, thank you, Atlantis. You're like, damn it, that's just what my wife would have done. Yeah, absolutely. JH5KL. I mean, it is a Q&A. It is designed around dual universe, but to be honest with you, you could ask me any question. I will give you an answer to it, even if that answer is bullshit. So, ask away. Yes, Atlantis. There is a current glitch in the game where you'll get the internal systems error on your refinery equipment, on actually any industry equipment. I have found two solutions for that. The solution to get it working immediately is to actually pick up the refinery equipment, place it, or any equipment, place it back down, redo the links, reset the recipe, done. Now, that works 100% of the time, but it takes a lot of time to do it, especially if you're like me, who has a majorly complex factory. Now, the way to fix it if you don't want to redo all that stuff, you can stop and start the recipe repeatedly. Just stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Eventually, it might fix it. That's not 100% though. The only way I've seen to 100% fix it is to actually pick up the construct or the element completely. The one that I have seen that has the most trouble is the electronics industry. For some reason, it's like every other time I log on, that thing will. I'll have multiple electronics manufacturer or industry completely shut down because of that error. And they seem to have the worst ability to start, stop, and fix. Like with those, it's almost guaranteed that I'm going to have to pick them up and drop them back down to fix it. And what sucks about them is whenever you're like me and you're trying to build in every space possible, and so you get them exactly side by side, once you have one on each side, lots of times they have a hard time going back down because it thinks that something is in the way, even though it was previously already there. So the only solution for that is to overcome my OCD about conserving space and space them one space apart. But, I mean, is that really an option? I'm thinking not. Uh, you see, I build in by Factorio rules, which is the um, basically start centered, start small, build out. So I always build my thing in sections. So, like for instance, in Factorio, you'd build your smelting section, and then if you want to increase your ability to smelt, you would just increase the size of that section, and then you build everything as compact as humanly possible, so that way you can actually increase that space by as much as humanly possible. So that's what I do. So I have a section of my main floor, which is just factories, um, set up for my assembly lines, and then one section set up specifically for refineries. One section set up for my metalworking stations, and my smelters, and my chemical stations, and my honeycomb makers, and my electronic component industry. And I do the same exact thing with my storage, which is in my basement. So I'll have a row of large containers in the back that are just for each tier. So one row or one column is for tier 1, one column is for tier 2, one column for tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, so on and so forth. And then everything branching off that column is all for tier 1. So the next thing in line is tier 1 aluminum, and then tier 1 carbon, tier 1, and so on and so forth. And so as I expand those, like let's say for instance, I want to increase the amount that I can produce or store, then I would just stack another large container on top of the tier 1 storage, add more refineries, and then add more store or add more storage for the tier 1 materials. And so in that case, my expansion does not increase the amount of connectors I use. In fact, it doubles it for every step. And my storage automatically doubles, and my production always doubles. So it's like the most efficient way to connect up, given that the fact that you only have 10 links per storage box. Yes, Atlantis, it is called a container hub, but the thing with container hubs is all they do is merge the storage. What they do not do is double the connections. So you no longer connect up to the containers, you connect up to the storage hub, which means that you still only have 10 connections. I would agree, JH5KL. I would say that I am very impressed in what they built so far, and I'm very excited. Basically, though, they're going to have the same issue that all indie developers have. So, take Imperium, for example. Imperium hit this stage where they had a choice to make. Either Imperium was going to become a game that people wanted to play, that was, like highly moderated and highly developed, and and became the pinnacle of what it could be, or they were going to realize that they have created their resume now. They can go work for a major game developer. They can sell their company to a major game developer. They can kill the game and take their lives to the next level. Or they can bet on the game and assume that and hope that it's going to propel them into the type of wealth and stardom that it can. Basically, they have to, take all their eggs and bet on that game. Imperium failed to do that. They really just saw it as a stepping stone onto greater and better things. And so I'm not saying that Dual Universe is going to do that, but they are going to come to that. They are going to come to a point where they have to make that choice. Do we bet on this game, or do we use this to launch our careers in more stable, less gambly way? And hopefully they make the choice to bet on this game. And that's what I'm waiting to see. And that will come somewhere close to full release. Once they start getting to full release and they built something that is special but not polished, then they'll have that choice to make. And I'm waiting to see what choice they do make with that. Okay. Ooh. Not author. Yeah, that just means they're restarting the server. So whenever it says not authorized to connect to private server, that's because they turn the authentication for the server onto private. So the only people who can connect are the accounts that they select, namely their staff. And whenever you see the HTTP error 100, that means they restarted the server. So the server is currently down. So they're either testing a fix that they implemented or something of that nature. I'll agree, JH5KL. I will agree with that. But put them in contrast to a game like Space Engineers. Right now, Imperium is dying out because they're no longer really supporting the game. A lot of the devs are moving on, and to be honest with you, most people, because they announced that they were going for a full release soon. They may have already done it, but most people saw it as we're protecting ourselves from lawsuits, but we're out type thing. Um, Now, take Space Engineers. That game, they're still hard supporting. I mean, they're granted they may not be supporting it in the way that people like. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, fix your server performances before you start releasing another sold cosmetic set," which is a fair point. But they're still building for the game. Maybe they're focusing a little bit too hard on trying to generate extra capital, but at the same time, you really don't know what they're doing in the background. I don't know how many devs it takes to create like one of those DLC contents, but it can't be a lot. I mean, a couple graphics artists, some coding people, some CAD designers. It can't be all that much. And so, what are other people doing right now in Space Engineers? And honestly, I would say that despite the fact that they're so old, they're still pumping out a lot of updates for that game. Oh yeah, absolutely. I see no reason. Yeah, exactly. They're They're adding new stuff to their 8-year-old engine. They're old, so I got to give them props for that. Now, what's this? Oh, okay. But now Dual Universe, it's a different beast. They're not just building a game based off of um, an existing engine. They're building this thing from the ground up. Now, I'm hoping that what happens is they're going to build something special, get to the point that they're at almost a full release, and they're going to say, you know what, I'm going in. I'm going all in. This is now my company, my life. This is going to be a big thing, and we're going to make it that way. And that's what I'm hoping for. But we won't have the answer to that question until we get close to a full release. Once we get to the point to where this game is worth money, as far as like selling it to another developer um, or using it as a resume builder, then we won't have that answer. But we will see. Okay, guys, 2 seconds. Gotta go grab a beer. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. Hello, Ghost. Oh, I hope so too, Ghost. I mean, come on. Who likes soulless companies? Although I do work for Cisco. Ha! Joking. Cisco isn't soulless. They really do care about us. Actually, they really do care about their the quality of their things, which, honestly, that's all that really matters, so I'm happy with that. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. Actually, here it is currently 2:05, so that counts too. Also, it's Saturday on a 3-day weekend, so, I mean... Nice, Atlantis. Fly high, brother. Fly high. And sister. Yeah, I decided to limit the interruptions by grabbing 2 at once. I will not double fist them because then that defeats the purpose. You know, if you're drinking 2 beers twice as fast as you would drink 1, then you're really not helping anything. So, Ghost and JH5KL, what are y'all's favorite aspects of the game so far? What is it that y'all like to do? Ah, you see what I'm talking about, Atlantis? They brought the server back up, but it's still set to private. Atlantis, believe me, I manufactured 1,000 sodium scrap just for that purpose. And I can stand on one leg. Thank you, Ghost. Well, thank you, Atlantis. It's the beard. It makes me seem more friendly. I could be the evilest person in the world, and everyone looks at me like I'm a teddy bear. I don't know why. Well, other than the beard. That is true, Ghost. That is very true. One thing I do better is math. I do better after probably 4 or 5 beers on mathing things. Well, it helps, seeing I was born and raised in Okeechobee, Florida. It's about as country as you get. Outnumber the cows, outnumber the people 3-to-1. So it's actually a nice place to grow up. But it is weird because I don't know how many of y'all watched How I Met Your Mother, but you remember the captain, you know, and they're like, you know, from the bottom down he looks happy, and then the top up, you know, he looks evil. I've got the same thing going on. I'm not kidding. Look. I mean, that looks a little scary, right? But then you add it together, just saying. Oh, wow. JH5KL is a freaking purist. I like it. No, I'm with you on that, man. There's, like, for instance, Imperium. I had no reason to buy that game. I was playing Space Engineers. I was looking at other games that were similar. Heard about Imperium. I knew that the game was older whenever I bought into it. And, you know, I just wanted to see what they did and how they did it differently from Space Engineers, and just to see what people were doing in the game. And, you know, I played that game. I got to end stages to where I had my factories built out, and I was building all the things that I needed to build. And like literally, if I wanted to do something in the game, it was to all I had to do was go to a container and freaking grab the stuff to do it. It was everything was available to me. Once I got to that point, I was like, yeah, I pretty much know everything about this game now. And I sort of lost interest in it, but the only reason I went to it was because I was curious about what, this industry was doing. And, just like the Battle Royale industry took off a few years ago, the space sandbox industry, I'm hoping, is going to take the same type of turn. And Atlantis, I am seriously jealous of you. I have two retirement goals. Well, two possible retirements. One of the retirements is going to be buying, 500-600 acres in the middle of West Virginia, Tennessee, somewhere like that, somewhere with good hunting, and move out there, build my own cabin off the trees on my land. Like first thing I'm going to do is just get someone out there to build like a metal shed or something to with power and water and all that kind of stuff, just so I can start out, but then put a wood mill inside there and chop my own wood, build my own house out of wood from my land. And, that's one of my retirement options. The other one is to buy like a 54-foot catamaran, and just straight up live on the ocean. Although, I have to say, at this point, going through a divorce and all that kind of stuff, the 54-foot catamaran sounds more appetizing than the land, just because imagine that Tinder date. You're like, hey, would you like to join me on my 54-foot catamaran? We'll go sailing for a while, hang out in, our swim trunks and bikinis and stuff like that. That's going to go over well. Hey, you want to go to my cabin in the middle of the woods? Probably not going to go over all that well. Although, I would have to say that it would definitely weed out all the wrong girls, right? You find that one girl who loves hunting, and the idea of a cabin in the middle of the woods is just like, hell yeah. Then you're just like, you know what? Might have found her. See, I don't want to live on the beach, only because I don't want to be tied down to an area. I like, like unless that area is a large area. If I could own 500 acres of oceanfront property, okay, we're talking now. But, 500 acres out in the middle of the woods, I'm not tied down to an area. I can walk as far as I want. I can shoot my guns anywhere I want. I'm good to go. It's all my land. I can hunt, I can farm, I can fish, do whatever I want to. It's freedom. It's absolute freedom. Same thing with owning a boat. I live on the ocean. As long as I'm a citizen of the U.S., I live in U.S. coastal waters. No one's taxing my land because my land is the freaking ocean. And, once I go out to international waters, hell, all bets are off, You can't do anything to me. So that's like ultimate freedom, Now, if I want to walk around all day wearing absolutely nothing, I can. Who's going to do anything about it? No one. So, Squadron 46, is this what you're talking about? I'm sorry, you said that and I immediately thought of Squadron 46. Yeah, that's basically what you're talking about, but you're talking about it in a much bigger sense. You know, but I mean that's the idea of this game, right? Is to do everything that Star Citizen is doing, except in a much bigger sense. You know, you no longer have. So I like to see this game as a mixture between what Star Citizen is doing and what Space Engineers did. So you're taking Star Citizen, but you're implementing a voxel solution so that people don't have to, you know, buy pre-made ships. I mean, the pre-made ships in Star Citizens are beautiful. I mean, they're gorgeous, but they're not as creative as people can be. So you're taking that voxel solution from Space Engineers that allowed this extreme creativity inside the community, and then you're doing what Star Citizens did with like the polish and the cleanness of everything, and trying to merge that with a massive universe, a massive number of players. Granted, we are getting growing pains because of that, but you know, it's honestly, it's the best marriage that I've seen in a while in an idea for a space sandbox game. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I wouldn't see. So I would say that would be after a full launch of this game. I wouldn't see them trying to dedicate any resources whatsoever to a idea of a spin-off until this game is at full launch and they're just in maintenance and DLC mode, or maintenance and upgrade mode type thing. Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, just the creativity of it. Like, I mean, I'm not that creative a person, so if y'all look at any of my previous videos, my new hauler looks like a 747 with atmospheric engines. Um, so it's not exactly all that creative, but you know, just the ability, just the tools that are already in the game, you can get so creative with ships. So creative. Why do you think I'm doing a live stream of y'all watching my login screen, man? I'm trying not to die of anticipation here. And then, yes, I know your level of boredom because you're literally watching a live stream of me talking and my login screen. Although JH5KL, he's just here for the knowledge. So he's not watching his login screen. Cheers to you, man. No, you're not. You are not the only one. There are currently 11 other people in here watching with y'all. Well, I said 11 other people. That would technically be 9 other people watching in here with y'all. You're not incorrect, Hitcher. You are not incorrect. The sad thing is, I have goals in mind. Like, I knew what I was going to do for my next live stream. You know, I did a live stream yesterday where I built the majority of my version 2 hauler. And then I got impatient, and instead of waiting to finish out my hauler on a live stream, I finished it out behind the scenes. So my next live stream was going to be a Q&A about industry, but I was going to start it with an explanation of what I did to finish out my version 2 hauler, and then a walkthrough of it finished. And then obviously a demonstration of how it operates. And then I was going to go into a Q&A about industry, show people my base, show people how I did my industry, show people how they can better set up their own industry to maximize their connections. All of this. I had it planned out. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And then the servers went down. Yeah, dude, you have my sympathy too. But that goes to show you the kind of game this is, right? I mean, this thing has been out not very long, and already people are just like, "Oh my God, the server's down. I want to play." So I mean, that's a good thing. Obviously, the server's being down for a long period of time, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, the server's down. There's no point in playing." So you know, that's good and bad, but you know, for the most part, I think it shows a lot of player interest in this game. Hey, you know, I'm gonna have to say though, I had just as much trouble as everyone else in the game, despite being in alpha and in the beta, the initial beta or sorry, the initial 1 week of beta access. I did not, because I'm playing solo. I did not learn any of the rights management stuff, and so I made a huge mistake. I built my big ass factory, and then I was afraid at some point, because I was bringing my best friend in to allow him to play with me, and so I was going through and I was setting my rights, and I was afraid I accidentally clicked share with everyone. I didn't know anything about the RDMS tool and that you could check that in there and remove tags and stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll just set it to share with friends, assuming that what that did was eliminated any other permissions and just set it to share with friends, because that's what the wording suggests. I was wrong. Next comes along Trent Darby from a place nearby, and he's literally running to everyone's constructs, checking to see if they set their permissions right, and if they screwed up, he was robbing them blind and selling everything they had on the market. Luckily, I was home whenever he did it to me, so he didn't get all that much, but he did get some of my best stuff. Like, he got a bunch of my large containers and a few of my industrial buildings, and literally just ran away and sold them on the market. But then, of course, I learned the RDMS system and figured out how to remove tags and stuff like that. Yeah, honestly, you know, I get it. This is supposed to be an open world game. You know, decisions you make are, you know, it's the same concept. You know, if my vehicle gets robbed because I didn't lock my doors, okay, it sucks to do that to like an 18-year-old who had never had to deal with locking his doors before, because he always lived out in the middle of nowhere in the country. You know, you don't lock your front door, much less your car doors. So it kind of sucks, but whenever it comes down to it, that's the real world. So I'm kind of like, yeah, he's kind of a dick for screwing over people who are just starting in the game and haven't learned everything. But also, I'm thinking, you know what? It is kind of also my fault, because I didn't understand what I was getting into. So, Atlantis, all you got to do, I've had a couple issues with rights. One is they don't seem to be always immediate, and also whenever you just click it, like right clicking and then going to or territory rights and then going to allow for friends and clicking that, doesn't always work. So the best way I've found to do it is to actually go to the RDMS tool. So go to territory rights, advance, and then set territory rights, and then go in there, delete all the tags, and then add specifically the share with friends, hit save, and then give it a minute, because it's not immediate. Yeah, exactly, Dionysus. Like, I'll never screw up my construct rights anymore, just because of that one experience. One thing you have to be weary about, or wary, not weary, wary about moons though, is resources are much more rare on moons than they are on planets. So for instance, tier 2 resources are literally on every territory. I mean, they range in, you know, how much tier 2 is there, but there's always tier 2 there. on every single planetary territory. That's not the case with moons. Not all territories on moons have tier 2 resources, which anything rarer than tier 2, you're in the same boat. They don't all have tier 3 resources. Definitely don't all have tier 4. And it's very rare to find tier 5. JH5KL, no, I am not on Twitch, sadly. I am not I guess what you would call a serious streamer. I am a person who streams because I enjoy the games that I enjoy, and then whenever I am not feeling particularly passionate about a game, but I'm still playing it, lots of times I won't stream. So, like right now, I'm seriously enjoying this game, so I'm streaming as much as I can, because if I enjoy something, then lots of times people enjoy watching other people actually enjoy the game and getting ideas from them. But who wants to mind somebody who hates what they're doing, or I guess hate is a bad word, but isn't passionate about what they're doing? You know, who wants to mind them for information? Yes, Hitcher. So there isn't a clear word from the devs on that, but what I take that to mean is anything that's in that blue bubble, you are protected 100% from PvP, from space, on the planet, everything. And I would assume that means that's going, even once Planetary PvP comes into play, they're going to not be part of that. And the reason that I say that is because, I mean, obviously, the resources on the planets inside the bubble are not as good as the ones outside of it. So, for instance, Jago. Jago has so many resources on it, but it's not inside the bubble, which means once they turn on Planetary PvP, you better have good defenses for your base, otherwise there's a good chance you're getting blown the hell up. Have fun, Atlantis. Thank you for joining the stream. Hope to see you back. Yeah, and I also think in the future there's going to be a bit of a rewrite of the ores on Alioth. I think they're going to start taking away some of those tier 2 ores that are there, especially limestone, just to force players outside of the bubble in order to get those resources. If I had to guess. Once they turn on PvP combat, yes, absolutely. There's going to be using things like the missile silos and automatic turrets and all that kind of stuff. Then yes, bases will be capable of destroying ships that are attacking them. Now, how they're going to do that, whether it's going to be that the bases have to be attacked first and then they'll fire back, or whether or not they will fire at anything in lock range of the radar, remains to be seen. But we'll get more information on that as they get closer to PvP. Yeah, same here, Atlantis. JH5KL, it depends. So, if they go the Imperium route, which the Imperium route was you could mine by hand, but you depleted the resources in that area when you did mine by hand, which is exactly what's happening now. If they go with the Imperium model, which is that you create these automated miners, but these automated miners don't deplete the resources, they just mine them, which honestly, logically doesn't make sense, but Imperium did it. If they go with something like that, then they will probably make the resources far more rare. Now, if they go with something like what we have now, which is anything you mine gets depleted, well, then more than likely resources will stay at the same rarity. They'll just change the resources that are available. Like, for instance, I would assume that they would take limestone off Alioth, because at that point, you can get through Tier 2 of the game, getting most of the components just from Alioth, and I'm trying to remember if Thades has Chromite. But either way, Alioth or any of the moons inside the safe zone. I think the biggest thing is trying to make it to where people have to go outside the safe zone in order to progress to the point to where you're making, mass producing TCUs, or you're mass producing territory scanners or whatever. Thanks, Atlantis. I appreciate that. Hitcher, they have not divulged that. Now, what I would assume is each voxel has a resistance factor. So what I would assume happens is that they're going to make it to where firing at the base scores a hit on the base, and then things get destroyed on the base based off of, the resistance of whatever material that you're shooting at. And then if you shoot at a system itself, like if someone has a radar dish on the top of their base and you hit that radar dish, all damage goes into that radar dish. But if you hit the base in general, then I would assume that you do small amounts of damage to every component that's on the base, or a random number of components on the base, and based off the resistances of whatever material that you're shooting at. But they have not released a full plan on how PvP is going to look on a planet. But I would assume it's going to look a lot like PvP in space, but on a planet. But like I've mentioned before, if you were here, the real question is going to be is voxel deformation on planets with weapons. So, if they don't have the ability to destroy voxel deformations, then everyone's just going to cover their base in a layer of dirt, and then it's going to become invulnerable. So there's got to be a plan in place for that. You shoot rockets at something, and then you destroy the dirt on top of it and deal splash damage, whatever. And also, whether or not it takes them a certain number of time to claim a territory is also going to be a question. Because right now, like, I can dig as deep as I want to go, and as long as I'm in the same territory, I can put a territory unit. So the bases can't be getting that territory unit because you don't have dig rights on that planet. So if I have to even if they add voxel deformation and I'm shooting fucking nukes at this territory, it's going to take a long time and a lot of resources to dig down freaking 8,000 meters to get to the territory unit to be able to destroy it or claim it or whatever. So, that's going to be a serious question, is how are they going to handle that? And, they probably have some good ideas. They probably have something where they probably have like, for instance, maybe you have to destroy all weapons and defensive buildings on the actual base itself, and then you can actually go in and plant your own TCU, and in 1 hour their TCU gets destroyed if they don't come in and destroy the TCU you planted, or something like that. But once again, it's hard to tell. They have not released any actual concrete information on what they're going to do with Planetary PvP. Yeah, I highly doubt they are going to require all defensive structures to be manned. I think that they're going to have defensive variants for every single weapon type, and then they're going to have offensive variants. Offensive variants, obviously, are going to be placed on ships, and they require someone to be on. Maybe they do more damage, but defensive variants are automatic, and they'll lock onto anything inside of your radar range automatically. So, for instance, for a medium radar, I think the range is 5,000 meters. They'll automatically lock onto that ship and begin firing any weapon which is capable of firing at it. That's what I would assume. But, like I said, no concrete plans have really been released about it that I've seen. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I do think that they are going to cater more to large corps. So, like I said, if defensive weapons that are automated are automated, but they don't do as much damage, then obviously larger corps that can put all offensive weapons on their bases because they always have people online who can go sit in a seat, then I have a feeling it's going to cater more towards them. But honestly, it should. If you've got 100 people online constantly, you've got to have some kind of advantage over. Like you would have zero advantage if that wasn't the case. Like your base is just as strong as a solo player's base. The only difference being how many weapons you might have on it. But if you had all offensive weapons that are doing way more damage than defensive weapons, then it's going to be much harder for a large corp with multiple ships to come in and destroy your buildings. I agree. It's definitely going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, even in that case, think about, like, for instance, I was one of the first people on Mattis during the beta. I have a territory claim literally right beside one of the markets. What's going to happen with that? Any ship that goes down to the market, it's going to be in my radar range. My neighbor's ship is going to be in the radar range. So, how do you deal with that? And I'm not sure how that's going to go. Is my base going to start attacking anybody who comes down to the market? Or does it only attack people who come into my territory? So, and then if that's the case, then it's going to be a little shaky. You're not going to be able to leave the market. You're going to have to fly up 5,000 meters to get well above the radar range of any of the bases surrounding the market, and then fly over those bases, and then you can come down. So it will change things drastically depending on exactly how they implement it. So. What? No way. Servers are going up. Hell yeah, guys. So, woohoo! Q 971. What? Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. But that means I'm going to have to end this stream and retitle it because the server is no longer down. Although maybe I should play for a little bit and then see if it doesn't go down again. Because that would be funny. Start a stream and then 15 minutes of gameplay. Sorry. Got to end the stream because the servers are no longer up. Yep. Okay, guys. I'm going to take 2 seconds and, well, a little bit longer than 2 seconds and go relieve myself. I will be right back. And y'all can see conveniently my Q counter down here.
Okay, currently at 8:24. Nice. This is going slowly. I would love to be more positive here, but so my plan is that after the server is going up, I am probably going to end this specific stream, and I'm going to start a stream based on what I wanted to do specifically. It's going to be showing off what I built out for my Mark II hauler, and then going into a Q&A on industry, showing y'all my base, showing y'all how it's set up with all my industrial buildings, and showing you the logic and reason behind all of it, and hopefully showing y'all better ways to set up your own stuff, or at the very least, ways to plan your things so that way, you know, as you progress, you're not rebuilding a whole lot. Like, for instance, I had to destroy all my links and reset all my links and rebuild them, I would say at least 4 times during all the iterations of my base. And maybe some of that failure on my part will help you avoid that on your part. So, that's my plan. So if y'all want to join that after we end up logging into the game, or you know, just listen to it in the background, or ask some questions based off of what you're doing, you're welcome to join back. And I would say, by the way this queue is going, probably about 30 minutes, and I'll end up bringing the stream back up. So before we close out this stream, is there any questions, comments, or concerns from any of y'all fellow gamers out there? I do not doubt it, JH5KL. Yeah. This game, I think, kind of lends itself into streaming. Nice, Dionysus. Well, whenever you do, you're welcome to jump in. If you're getting the game right now, would you like me to go ahead? Well, I don't need to do that. So, whenever you first start, you can send a request to join to the HOA, a Horseman of the Apocalypse, and the tag is HOA, so just join that in the corpse. But yeah, run yourself through the tutorial. And after you finish the tutorial, let me know, or when you're getting close to finishing it, whenever it has you place down your Sanctuary TCU, then let me know, and I'll fly my butt over to Alioth, and I'll pick you up at Alioth and bring you over to Mattis. And that way you can actually get started in the game without having to worry about farming up crap to sell to get your own ship. Thanks, JH5KL. I appreciate it, man. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream, and all of y'all have a great day.